So I got this Lombard and the oiler doesn't work right. So there it is. Watch what happens when I push it. It just goes down and stays down. If I pull, it doesn't want to come back up. Now, I've had it apart a couple times and I figured out it's suction. So it's going down, but it's not releasing the pressure to come back up. Like it's like it pushes it down, but then there's like a vacuum that holds it down. The spring doesn't just push it back up because there's like a vacuum behind it. So I'm wondering if there's something clogged up. I just spent 20 or 30 minutes figuring that out. I've tried different O-rings and everything and nothing fixed it. Basically, I tore it down because I'm not getting any oil to the bar. So you can see how far I tore it down. And the reason I did this because I didn't know how the oiler system on this particular saw worked. I've never messed with one of these saws in the oiler system before, so I had to figure out how it worked. And it's kind of frustrating because of how simple the issue was, but how much repair I got to do just from my mistakes of pulling it apart. I might as well, I mean, there's a couple of things that needed repaired anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and fix those. But like this gasket here, it's toast. I don't know if I'm going to get a good seal out of it anymore. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to replace it, but we'll see. I might just have to trust some good old silicone or something. The handle here, some things I need to fix here is none of the grommets are in place. That grommet's missing. The two there for the high and low jets are missing. There's no grommet for the fuel line. So I'm going to fix that stuff. It's an interesting oiling system. So here, this hooks up to your throttle. This here, and every time you hit the trigger, it pulls that rod up and gives it a little squirt of oil. Kind of neat, as it comes down here and connects to the oil system. And you'll see here I busted a bolt off, so now I got to fix that. So it's one of those things, you make mistakes when you're tearing it apart, and now I got to fix it. But fix that. I put new O-rings in the plunger. That was the first thing I did, and that didn't fix anything. What happened is I wasn't getting any oil flow at all. So I started pulling things apart and tracing the oil line out. So here's this side. You might recognize it like this. I ended up pulling the line off and blowing it, and I'm blowing it. So there's the little hole the oils come from. Did all that work. Came in here, pulled it apart. It took about 10 or 15 pounds of pressure once I pulled the oil line off. It took about 10 or 15 pounds of pressure for the oil line to finally let go and release whatever was clogging it. And I can tell you, I think the clog was because this is the adjuster that adjusts how much oil flow there is to the bar. And they had that turned all the way tight. No oil flow. And I probably going to fix my issue all along just by coming over here and giving that little screw a quarter of a turn. I probably would have had plenty of oil flow and never needed to pull the saw apart in the first place. Go figure, right? But at least now I know how the saw or how the system works. So in the future, if I run into another problem, I can fix it. Now, I can understand that they hit that screw because right there's the chain adjuster screw. And that one's right there. The spikes, I put the spikes on, so those two screws would have been showing from the front edge originally. Those spikes are now hiding it, so, you know. But it's kind of funny, all the work we go through just to figure out a simple little problem. But I'm going to take the advantage and go ahead and clean this sucker all up and just give it a good freshening, if you know what I mean. If you look inside there, you see it's pretty nasty in there. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a good cleaning. Since I already got it this far, all I got left to do is pull the firewall and stuff off, and I can clean the living crap out of this thing. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll work at putting it back together. Spark plug wire came off, but it needs replaced. It feels like Play-Doh. Probably not even Play-Doh. It's like liquid almost. Let's see here. It spots. Can you see this? Right here's a spot. See how it's coming apart? You see that? And the rubber feels like, I don't know, it feels kind of juicy. I'm going to go ahead and replace it. Looks like a solid copper core wire. I'll have to order some. I'm going to see if I can find a new gasket for there. And we'll see. I might need to find another part or two because of that one I broke off. But I have a couple of Super XLs. I wonder if any of those, I have a couple Super XL spares. I wonder if one of those will fit. This is a Super XL that's for spare parts. That one might fit. I might be able to get it to fit. I might be able to find one to fit from some other saw. But there we go. The Lombard mystery solved over a freaking screw. Just loosen the screw up. Loosen the screw up. You know, all that work just to figure out there's a freaking screw there that all I had to do was turn it a quarter of a turn and I would have had great flow. It's ridiculous sometimes, the work you got to go through just to learn something. As simple as that. I would not have had to pull a single bolt off. Not one. Frustration, learning experience, whatever. Saw needed tore apart anyway, look in there. It needed done anyway, so I guess I shouldn't be too upset. Probably saved me a bunch of hassle down the road. Alrighty, till next video. Enough jabbering.